She had lived in the apartment for 6 years. She knew every inch of it, every creak in the floorboards, every draft that came through the kitchen window in winter, every place where the paint had bubbled and never been fixed. She knew the layout the way you know the layout of somewhere you have lived long enough that you stop seeing it. It becomes less a place and more an extension of yourself, a background, a given. She knew she had 4 rooms: living room, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom. 4 rooms, 1 hallway, 1 front door. She had measured them when she moved in, sketched the floor plan for a furniture arrangement she never ended up using, and filed the sketch somewhere in a drawer she had not opened since. On a Tuesday in November, she pulled that drawer open looking for a battery, and she found the sketch. She looked at it for a long time, because the hallway in the sketch was longer than the hallway she was standing in. And at the end of it, past the bathroom door, past the point where her hallway currently ended in a flat wall with a framed picture on it, there was a 5th room. She had drawn a door, labeled it simply room, and then apparently forgotten it existed for 6 years. She put the sketch down. She walked to the end of her hallway. She stood in front of the flat wall with the framed picture on it. She pressed her hand against it, pressed harder, knocked on it the way you knock on a wall when you are trying to determine whether it is load-bearing or hollow. It was hollow, and from somewhere on the other side of it, very faintly, came the sound of something she could not immediately identify. Not a voice, not a mechanical sound. Something slower than both of those things, something that had the quality of a sound that had been happening for a very long time in a space where there was no one to hear it. She found the door 3 days later, not through the wall, which turned out to be exactly what it appeared to be. A wall, hollow between the plaster, nothing structurally unusual. She found it inside her bedroom closet, behind the rack of coats she had not worn since the previous winter. A door. Flush with the back wall of the closet, no frame visible, the same paint as the surrounding surface, which was why she had never seen it, which was why 6 years of hanging and retrieving coats inches from its surface had never registered its existence. It had a handle, a simple, round brass handle that was not tarnished the way brass tarnishes when it is not touched. It was clean, smooth. The handle of a door that was used by someone. She opened it. The room on the other side was not large, roughly the size of a generous walk-in closet or a very small bedroom. The walls were bare. The floor was bare. There was no window. There was a single light source, a lamp on the floor in the far corner, plugged into a wall socket, casting warm amber light across the space. The lamp was on. She stood in the doorway for a long time, not going in. The room smelled lived in. Not dirty, not stale, but the specific smell of a space where a human being has spent time recently. Warm, organic, personal in a way that made her skin feel wrong. There was a chair against the far wall, facing the door, as if whoever used the chair had been sitting there looking at the door, waiting for it to open, or watching to make sure it did not. On the floor beside the chair was a single object, a notebook, closed, no label on the cover. She did not go in that day. She closed the closet. She sat in her living room with every light on and thought about every night she had spent in that apartment. Every night she had slept 8 feet from a door she did not know existed. Every night, someone with a key to that door, to her closet, to her bedroom, to her home, could have been sitting in that chair in the amber light on the other side of a wall she had decorated with her own things and called her own space. She called the building manager the next morning. He had managed the property for 11 years. He told her, carefully, in the tone of someone choosing words, that the apartment had originally been a 2-unit floor, that at some point before his tenure, the wall between the 2 units had been partially sealed and the floor plan reclassified as a single apartment. He was not certain which rooms had been merged. He would have to check the original plans.
He checked. He called her back.
He told her the room in her closet was not on the current floor plan, that it had been sealed off at some point and was not part of her unit's registered square footage, that technically it was, and he paused here in a way that suggested he was uncertain how to finish the sentence, unaccounted for. Unaccounted for. A room in her home. Warm lamp on the floor, clean brass handle, chair facing the door. In a building where 11 years of management had no record of its existence. She went back in that evening with her phone flashlight and her hand against the wall behind her, and she picked up the notebook. She opened it. The entries were dated. The most recent was 4 days ago, 3 days before she found the door. 1 day before she had stood in the hallway knocking on the hollow wall and heard the sound she could not identify coming from the other side. The entries were observations, written in a neat, unhurried hand. Observations about her apartment. The time she left in the morning, the time she returned, what she cooked, what she watched, when she turned the lights off, how long she slept. Detailed, patient, complete observations. The record of someone who had been watching her life from 8 feet away with a notebook and a lamp and a chair facing the door. The last entry, 4 days ago, was different from the others. It said only, "She found the sketch." She was out of the apartment in 20 minutes. She did not go back. The room that should not exist is a concept that horror has visited many times and from many angles. The hidden space, the secret room, the architecture that does not match what the building should contain. It appears in literature, in film, in the folklore of old houses and their histories. But what makes it endure, what makes it the specific category of terror that it is not the room itself. It is what the room implies about the time before it was found. Because the room was always there. The lamp was always on. The notebook was always being filled. And you were living your life 8 feet away without knowing. Sleeping, cooking, moving through your own space with the absolute confidence of someone who knows their home without knowing that your home contained something you had never accounted for. The horror of the room that should not exist is not the discovery. It is the retrospective. It is every night you spent asleep, every morning you got dressed, every evening you sat in your living room feeling safe in a space that you owned and understood and controlled. None of it was what you thought it was. The room was always there. The lamp was always on. And the chair was always facing the door. So tonight, when you are settled in, lights low, comfortable in the space you know as well as you know anything, take a moment. Think about the walls you have never knocked on, the closets you have not fully cleared, the corners of your floor plan you have taken for granted because you moved in and assumed and never checked. Think about whether your home is exactly the size you think it is, and whether everything inside it, every room, every door, every sound coming faintly through the walls at night, is something you put there, or something that was already waiting. If this one got under your skin, hit subscribe, because we go deep into the spaces, the legends, and the rooms that exist just outside the edge of what you think you know about the place you sleep. Drop a comment and tell us which story you want us to cover next. Until then, check your closets. All of them.